the start of the 1430 turn, the Confederate phase in the 1430 turn. Let's go to our sequence of play. The first stage is to issue new orders, and I mentioned in the previous video that if I was going to send an order from Bragg to Preston here, the one command that we have not issued an order to yet, this would be the point in the sequence of play where I would do that. But since I'm going to do an in-person order, I'm not going to issue the order at that point. The first thing I'll need to do to issue an in-person order is in the movement and close combat phase to move my Bragg marker from the Army of the Tennessee headquarters to Preston. And remember, Preston, the divisional leader, also serves as the HQ of that division, so we can look forward to that in the movement and close combat phase. The next stage in the sequence of play is corps attack stoppage. We're not going to do that. We could roll for initiative again. For the Confederacy, I don't see any opportunities to roll for, or reason to roll for initiative, but maybe this would be a good time to just talk briefly about a question that someone who is not familiar with this game system might ask, which is, and I think it would be a natural question to ask, well, for instance, First Corps is awaiting orders here. What's to stop Hood with his highest possible initiative, or command rating of 4, to roll for initiative to enact the very same order that Bragg is sending to him? And the answer is that the game rules essentially prohibit that kind of use of the initiative phase. That would be considered to be overly gamey and kind of something that would be, if I were to roll for, in this particular situation, certainly with, with no movement on the part of the Union, and the Union is not next to any of my units, it would be very gamey for me as the Confederate player to take Hood and then roll for initiative to try to implement the very order that Hood is trying to send, that Bragg is trying to send him. Now, if circumstances were a bit different, something like that might be permissible. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, this is just really a matter of common sense. And, generally speaking, when thinking about whether Hood is going to take initiative here, we want to use common sense and just think, okay, well, given the actual situation, what would it be most reasonable for Hood to do? I mean, if the Union had lined up their troops here, but not attacked, then it might make sense for Hood to think, maybe this is the time for me to attack with my 5 brigades when there's only, 2 or 3 of them in front of me. It might make sense in those circumstances for Hood to roll for initiative and to launch the attack on the Union. But of course, we're not in those circumstances, and that's why I'm not going to let Hood roll for initiative to try to implement an order like the one that Bragg is sending him. I mean, I think hopefully the order that Bragg has written for Hood is the one that I, as the player, would want Hood to do, and so it would be overly gamey for me to say, well, I'm just going to have Hood roll for initiative on that order. We're not allowed to do that in the system, so we're not going to roll for initiative. We're not in delay reduction because Stuart started the game with orders. the order that's out to First Corps has not arrived yet, so there's no delay reduction to do here, and Preston hasn't received an order yet, so there's no delay reduction at all to do. But now we're going to do the new order acceptance. Remember, let's go to our order chart for the Confederacy. And I have to remember what the name of the application is. It's not Sheets, is it? What is it? Numbers, of course. Oh, these Apple programs. Just waiting for numbers to load here. I have a very old Mac. Pardon the delay here. I should have had this open to begin with. The order that we issued to First Corps is arriving at 1430. So now let's determine what's going to happen with that order. We'll go to our acceptance chart, which I discussed in the previous video. And I believe, if I remember right, we're rolling on the 0 to 1 table. Let's see, it was... Oh, you know what? I just remembered something that I may not have mentioned in the previous video. So we had Bragg as a 0, Hood as a 4, so that's a 4, and it was written... So that's a 0. So far we're at 4. There's a complex order, so that's -2, so that takes us to 2. I might have said in the previous video that we were rolling on the 2 to 3 chart, but actually in the game-specific rules, it says that Bragg, well, long story short, Bragg has an anti-initiative rating of -2 with a group of commanders, including Hood. So that is... What that means in game terms is that when you calculate the acceptance value according to the formula here, if it's Bragg issuing the order, you subtract an additional 2. And that's just the game designer's representation of how poor he thinks the command structure was in the Army of the Tennessee during this battle. So yeah, so we started with a value of 2, but then when we factor in our anti-initiative rating, that takes us down to 0. So we are going to be rolling on this column here. Just to briefly state what the possible outcomes are at the acceptance table, if we were to roll an A, which we can't because we're on this 0 to 1 scale, but if we were on this column and we rolled a 6, the order would be immediately accepted. If we get a D1 result, then the order is not implemented in this turn. Any subsequent turn, the order would be accepted if we roll a 1 or a 2. If we don't roll a 1 or 2, then the order is just not acted upon, and the commander just waits for the following turn. If we get a D2 result, then on each subsequent turn we roll a 1 for acceptance, and if we roll a 2 through 6, then the order just is not enacted, and we just keep rolling once a turn until we get a 1. And then if we were to get a DT result, which is on the tails of the distribution here, the order would actually be distorted and thrown away, and Bragg would have to issue another order to Hood to get his command on the go. Now you might think, well, it's going to take a long time probably for Hood's corps to get moving here, and that's true. It probably will. Of course, there's a chance that it won't, but on average, it will take Hood several turns to get moving here. And I can say that I've been reading about the Battle of Chickamauga, and that is an accurate representation of what the units actually did on this battle. Units in this battle, particularly on the Confederate side, were just sitting in the woods waiting for orders, not knowing what to do for long periods of time on September 19th. So I think the game designer has done a really good job of building into the system, the sort of giving the most probable result to what actually happened over the course of the battle. But anyway, so let's roll our 2d6 to see exactly where we fall on this column. So we'll roll here, and we rolled a 4, which is a d2, which means that we are going to roll each subsequent turn for acceptance. That will be our delay. Go back to our sequence of play. That will, in the future turns on the delay reduction phase, we will roll a 1d6 for Hood's corps, and when Hood rolls a 1, that's when Hood's corps actually will get moving and be free, as it were, to implement the orders that Bragg sent him. So we can enter that on our chart. So this order is accepted. Oh, sorry. Come on. So the order is arrived in delay, D1 result order, and the order will be accepted on a roll of D6 equal to 1 in the delay reduction phase of the sequence of play for the Confederate side. Going back to our sequence of play, we finished the command phase, so let's go to the movement and close combat phase. No straggler recovery to be done, so now we're in the movement, the actual movement and close combat section of this phase. And we're going to do two things in this phase. We're going to move Stewart's division towards an attack on Van Cleve's division, and the first thing we'll do is we're going to move Bragg. I'll just put him on top for the moment. We're going to move Bragg to Preston's to Preston, so that when the next new order acceptance phase arrives, Bragg can issue an in-person personal order to Preston to act on a certain order. So we will move Preston 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 movement points, and he will sit there. So we're done with Bragg's movement. And now we're going to move Stewart. And I think I mentioned in a previous video, well, maybe I don't know, I don't remember for sure how much detail I gave, but my, cunning plan for the Confederacy, let me, not that one. My cunning plan was to advance, to start the attack with my A morale level brigade here, and I'm going to move it just 1 this turn, and I should move its strength marker along with it, and then I'll move the unit to the top. One, with the thought, because I don't have enough movement points to start the close combat here, because it would take 1, 2, 3 because of the creek here. So 2 plus 1 for the stream is 3, 4, 5, 6 for the clear, but an additional 1 for close combat would be 7 movement points, but brigades only in line only have 6 movement points, so I can't do the close combat this turn. So I'm going to stop Bates's brigade here and then complete the movement and initiate the close combat on the next turn. Now I have enough movement points to move here, but I hope you can see that would be a mistake, because then in the fire fire combat phase, the Union would be able to bring 2 brigades worth of fire on this unit here, on Bates's brigade here, but I don't only be able to I am actually going to move Brown's brigade in here too, and I could move Brown's brigade here too. There's enough movement points, and have a 2-on-2 firefight. But like I said, my cunning plan is to do something different. I'd like to close combat him, and I've got a good chance of prevailing in that because of my very strong morale here. I'd like to push this unit off through retreat, push this unit off here, occupy this space, bring in Brown's division here, and then get a 2-on-1 fire on this brigade here, and then hopefully wear it down, possibly another close combat into it. And if all goes right, I would have a lot of firepower against this remaining brigade, which does have the 5 strength points of 21st Corps artillery. So my movement for this turn is going to be to move this stack into here as well. I have trouble moving stacks in this game. I guess I have to select the whole thing. There we go. And then the stacking limits would actually allow me to put Stewart and the 3rd Brigade in that hex as well, so that's what I'm going to do. They do have enough movement, so 2, 3, 4, 5. They do have enough movement points to get there. So Stewart's entire division is stacked pretty tightly in this hex, and then they'll await the action in the next phase. Now actually, you know what? I'm going to do something different just because what I did from a defensive point of view is pretty silly. I'm going to move Stuart here along with, well, this brigade and then this strength marker. And I'll leave it as an exercise for the watcher to figure out why, just from a purely defensive point of view, this is a better way of doing it. So we'll leave it at there for now. Going back to our sequence of play. So we finished movement in close combat. There's no ammo resupply to do. Fire combat. First the non-phasing player, the Union player, would get to do its fire combat, and then the Confederate player would get to do its fire combat. And just as in the previous video, there's no fire combat to be done here. In particular, no fire combat is possible up here because these are wood hex, so it blocks line of sight for all fire combat between these hexes and these hexes going in either direction. It's symmetrical. So there's no fire combat to be done. There's no we're in the rally phase, no straggler recovery to be done, no rally, and now we're moving to the second player. I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to try to make shorter videos because they're easier to upload to YouTube. And maybe I could say that I've had a heck of a time uploading my fourth video in HD format to YouTube. I've taken a step which I'm hoping will expedite that process, but for some reason I ran into a lot of problems uploading my fourth video, which is why it was delayed. Since you're watching this, hopefully that problem will have been solved since this is the fifth video. But I'm going to end this video again with the aim of keeping things short, and I'll start a new video where we do the Union phase of the 1430 turn, and we're going to see that the Union player can do something to thwart the plan of Stuart's division here, and we'll talk about other things that the Union player might do in terms of maybe getting rolling for initiative or getting a little bit more aggressive with their units down here as well. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.